And got it. He's Charlie. But a boop, nabba, bobble. And I'm gonna miss everybody.
Happened in the 90s.
Hot chicks.
Yeah, they didn't exist.
I mean, that makes sense though, dude. He was a hanger on. At least he gave you some sort of utility. He moved some boxes or whatever.
Well, there was this dude, like our drummer was like 3 years younger than us. We were seniors when he was a freshman, and he was our drummer. And he had some substance abuse problems at the age of 14, like really young. So
Damn.
eventually he had to get booted out, and we replaced him with Ugly Jason. That wasn't any better because the original drummer, he was really good. He was like a wonder kid. He was doing all the double bass drum type stuff, man. He can do all that Metallica stuff, all of that System of a Down stuff, and it was really cool. But man, he just spiraled out, man. He still,
Damn, at 14? Damn.
yeah, but he's still alive. I think he kind of figured it out eventually, man. I'm friends with his brother, Nick.
Okay. That sounds really familiar for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why I would know that, but I'm not going to try to dig through all the bong resin.
Yeah, and I'm forgetting that we're live, man. I'm just putting people's business out there, like.
Yeah, maybe leave out the surname at least. But that's funny. Jason was the roadie.
Yeah,
Clocks. It's always the gross dude that's the roadie,
yeah. What's the word you like using? Very apropos.
Yeah, dude. But I mean, dude, for some reason I thought Neil. Were you in a band with Neil?
I was, and Neil was.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first band I was in, Thrift Store All Star. Shout out to them. And Neil was the drummer. He's a badass drummer when it comes to like the punk and like ska and stuff. But that was a phase, man. I don't listen to punk or ska anymore. Justin was our bassist, and got this dude who's actually a lawyer now, Nikos. He was our guitarist.
Nico's fucking Eastern Promises band. What the fuck is this?
Um, do you remember Shayna? Shayna, she was a year under us. Well, they got married, her and Nikos. And
Perrysburg Love, dude.
Perrysburg Love, yeah. Nikos, I don't even think he didn't go to high school with us. He went to like St. John's or something like that, man. But he's like a successful lawyer out in New York, last I heard.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
We might need one someday, Nikos. Can we get
Yeah.
some pro bono work, please?
Yeah, there were several times when I needed one.
Shit.
Shit, what?
No, I'm sorry. I was just trying to, make a bad transition.
Yeah, me too. So let's talk about the marriage, man. My guy finally got married to the love of his life, man. Underneath this sweaty, shining forehead, I'm dripping with enthusiasm for you. Obviously, you can't tell right now,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
all of my faculties are weakened right now. So I'm gonna keep drinking this immunity juice, whatever the hell it's called, from Smoothie King, man. But man, show him that ring again, man. Like you're one of the four horsemen. Hell yeah. Oh man, and dude,
Dude,
the
I'm
man.
off the marker. I'm off the markets, dude.
Man, you hear that,
Sorry,
ladies?
ladies.
Hey, you had your chance.
Yeah.
He gave you time.
40 years. You could have had it, but yeah, got to marry Kendra finally. It's official. We made it in the eyes of the law, Steve. We're married. And it was dope. The pictures came out great. Dave, the guy that married us, he was a gem.
Yeah,
Photographer. He's a race photographer, Steve. Heard a lot about that before the ceremony, but
a
we had a
race
good time.
photographer.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that got into a different. It made me sort of inspired because he was working. I think he was like in some sort of law, apropos to what we were talking about earlier. But he shifted. He had enough money. He had his kids got out, like were out of the house, and he decided to pursue his passion, which was photography. And this dude's actually an on contract photographer for like Moto Trend and like racing magazines. I mean, I'm not into it, but
Yeah.
You know, he gets to go to races, take pictures. On the side, he's marrying
Oh,
people at this building in Columbus. And
oh,
it was beautiful, dude. I've been waiting 10 years to do it. We got to do it the way we wanted to. It wasn't like some big ceremony. It was just us, our dog, and Dave. And it was beautiful, man. We got to read our vows. We got to do the ring thing. It was all like all the hits of a wedding in about 20, 30 minutes, which I loved. And then afterwards, it was just us hanging out, doing what we love to do, man. Smoking a couple J's, ate
yeah.
some good food the day that we got married. We baked our own wedding cake, and it was fucking not literally bananas, but it was delicious. Um, and the following day, we just had like a fun day. Went out shopping, did a few nice things, and then we decided to treat ourselves to a little edible fueled uh, movie viewing of the new Twisters
Yeah.
movie that just came out. And I got to say, Steve, under the right circumstances and with the right company, you're going to have a great time watching that movie. I don't know if it's necessarily the like what the filmmaker envisioned as a great time, but a great time nonetheless. It's the cheese factor of the 90s that I think some movies are missing. Is it great? I don't know, but we laughed our ass off.
It sounds horrible, man. I mean, you
It's
guys, everything was on an upswing, and then you decided to watch Twisters. I got one I could recommend to you, man. Is it the one with Dev Patel on Peacock? Have you seen that yet?
is that Monkey Man?
Monkey Man, yes.
I've had 3 people tell me I need to watch it, so I guess I need to watch it.
It's pretty dope, man. And you can watch it from the safety of your own home. You don't have to go purchase tickets to watch some shitty 90s remake. And I watched the King Kong Godzilla on Max. Not bad. I never was big on either of those. But you know, the special effects, it kept me entertained.
They definitely upgraded those movies. I saw one of those new. It wasn't the newest Kong Godzilla movie because there's one now where I think Kong has like an Infinity Thanos gauntlet on and stuff. I haven't seen that, but I saw like the previous one. I mean, is it my thing completely? No, but I mean, I like a big monster movie. They're doing
Yeah.
some big crazy special effects. I mean, the one I saw had one of the people from like Stranger Things in it, the girl,
Mm,
and there's a bunch of other people I can't remember,
7.
but yeah, yeah. But hey, man, there's some good stuff out there. I'm really excited about Wolverine and Deadpool. I think that's going to be fun.
Same, my guy. Same. Like, and it's what? It's next week.
Yeah, my actual birthday's next weekend.
Yeah.
Another fun thing about my wedding, Steve, we had it on the day that I was cured of cancer. So now that day, it's very easy for me to remember the anniversary. One, that's pretty nice for me. But two, it's literally the best day of my life. How sweet is that?
Yeah, man. I think you did tell me that too, man. Another fun fact about your wedding, it happened a day after Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston's anniversary. So there we are, Columbus's own Bobby and Whitney.
There,
My but, but more responsible, more responsible, not
yeah,
far into the deep end, man. And
I like
another
that.
another fun fact, your wedding was 2 days before the anniversary of Nate Dogg's G Funk Classics Volumes 1,
Oh,
um, which today is the anniversary of that, July 21st. So Nate Dogg is proud, man. I think he's disappointed you didn't have a bowler
yeah,
to
I did
do it.
not. I did not have that, Steve. I couldn't find a haberdasher with the time to customize that to the size of my noggin, but you know, in he's always in my heart, Steve. So,
Always.
you know,
And you still look dapper, my guy.
thank you, dude. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a suit guy, but paid a little money for it, and I feel like it worked out. I matched up well with my wife. My wife doesn't. She can wear anything and look good, and unfortunately, she's with me, so that's you know. But I cleaned up real well. I gotta say, Steve.
Yeah, Kendra, she's got, I mean, I guess you could say like an eclectic style, but it works for her.
Yeah. Uh huh.
You know, from Cali. She's very Cali. Um,
What was I saying though? Because we actually had moved on from my wedding, but it was awesome, and we're gonna celebrate sometime when you're here, Steve. So,
For
uh,
sure.
again, sorry, ladies. And what were we just talking about? Shit.
Good movies and not so good movies that are out or coming out.
Hmm. It's gone, Steve. My bad. Didn't mean to derail it.
Ugly Jason was our roadie. I don't know how far back you were trying to go.
I mean that just fits so well though, Steve. Like if anything, that guy was meant to be a roadie. You know, maybe not a successful one, but he was definitely roadie material.
Yeah, schmegma. Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G What Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Sonic Youth and your Seattle Supersonics jerseys and tell me what you're gonna do when it ain't no place to run. And judgment comes for you, and judgment comes for you, and what you gonna do when it ain't no place to run. Judgment comes for you, we're just gonna, and I'm gonna got it, he's Uncle Charlie, but a boop and a baba, and I'm gonna miss everybody. Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that how we all do bone lyrics?
I don't like that's them and Twista. I think you're just making noises and getting to like the last word. You know, I don't even think Busy Bone knows what he was saying in that song. Honestly,
Yeah. Busy, yeah, he's the wild card of the group, man. You make these noises. It's like onomatopoeia kind of deal up until you get back to the chorus. Okay, this is I'm familiar with this because they typically slow down for the chorus. Like, okay,
I mean, he gives
we
like the
got you.
sauce to the Bone Thug song, though. Like, I feel like of all the sounds you get in their group, his is the one when it hits, it adds like that umami to the song that you need,
Umami.
Steve. Yeah, hell
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Bone Thug?
Crazy Bone.
Same.
I mean, he is the one that could be solo. Everyone else
Yeah,
needed the group, you know?
that's fair.
I think
Yeah.
Crazy Bone actually had a couple of singles that were fire as fuck, like outside of that group too, when we were in college, if I remember right.
I remember he was on that track with Lil Jon and like a guest of others. I can't even call it, but I just remember him saying "bone, bone, 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 bone," and they had that Lil Jon bit that bass like going in with him, like bone,
Yeah,
bone, 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 bone. Like, yeah, man, crazy's the shit, bro.
he's a great
Um,
feature for sure. He's definitely gonna like he'll add some substance to the song for sure. But Busy's right there. But again, where he suffers is I don't know exactly what he's saying.
yeah, at
You
least
know,
Crazy makes it somewhat easier for us. He kind of like he's the more melodic one. It's like okay,
yeah.
he slows down. He's got like some little harmony going on. Um, but yeah, today, my friend, we're talking all things July 25th in the 90s. Oh, oh, oh. Starting off in 1990, Roseanne Barr sings the national anthem at Cincinnati's Reds and San Diego Padres MLB game. And man, she would catch a hella flack, a lot of flack. What am I saying? Hella flack. Yeah.
I just don't get. Here's what I don't get. The first part of it where she just sings like shit. What'd you expect? I
Yeah.
mean, she doesn't. She's Roseanne Barr. She's not goddamn Whitney Houston. So it wasn't going to be top notch. And then she's a comedian. So once people start giving her shit, she's going to lean into that and just do what she's going to do. And at that time, I mean, she was one of the shit starters, Steve. You
Yeah.
know,
And according to her, she thought it was appropriate to grab her crotch and spit on the ground because she's seen baseball players do it over the years. That's what they do. They got their snuff in their mouth and they're spitting, grabbing their junk, and she just thought it was a apropos. And
I
it
love
was
that, Steve. I love that you're using that word. Sorry. Keep
I,
going.
we learned from each other, and man, it got so bad that even President Bush said it was just distasteful and disrespectful.
I mean, but again, Roseanne gonna do what Roseanne gonna do in the early 90s. So you got what you wanted anyway. Ultimate publicity. It was a great publicity stunt, if nothing else. And if you said this was at a Reds game,
Reds and San Diego Padres. I think it was
so
yeah.
was Marge Schott the owner of the Reds at this time, I believe?
She was, but this was in San Diego's stadium.
Oh, okay. Well, that might not go down as good with all the vets in San Diego, but
There's
I
that
don't
too.
know. We experienced this. We were alive when this happened, and even as a young child, I was just like, Roseanne's like this like crass lady. Like, what'd you expect? I mean, it didn't sound great, but it sounded like Roseanne singing the Star Spangled Banner. What do you want?
Still to this day, yeah. I mean, and that wasn't what even got her canceled. It's her Twitter feed that got her canceled.
And
But
I would say, on like Steve, respectively, if you want to call out bad Star Spangled Banners, have you ever seen that clip of Fergie singing her crazy one where the
I
NBA
did,
players cannot stop laughing at it at a certain point? That's
yeah.
just as bad. So, I mean, who's worse, Steve? Who's more to blame here? I guess.
Fergie, because she actually made millions off of her singing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that following year, 1991, 90210 was airing season 2, episode 3, Summer Storm. Cindy's mothering instincts upset both Jim and Brenda after she brings an injured Dylan to recuperate at their house after he has an accident while surfing in dangerous conditions. While Dylan's father is arrested for income tax evasion, Kelly gets involved with a shy volleyball player named Kyle, who is reluctant to make a move on her. Meanwhile, David and Donna are reluctantly paired for a Romeo and Juliet scene as a class project.
Da 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 da. Steve is so gross.
Yeah, he is. And I hate that
Um,
his name's Steve.
yeah, dude. Worst Steve. Worst representation of Steve's. And also in this, he's an ultimate bitch tool.
Does
But
Steve Seagal count?
man, there's a lot of bad Steves, Steve.
Yeah.
But you're the one. You're the top notch. You, Steve Carell, Steve Zahn, he's up
Steve,
there.
Steve Martin.
Steven Spielberg. We can keep going.
Yeah.
Uh, but a lot going on with the Walshes and just with Beverly Hills in general in this episode. This is still early on. And quick rest in peace to Shannon Doherty. We lost a 90s legend over the last week. So rest in peace, Shannon.
Yeah.
Brenda.
And Luke Perry. And I mean, ironically, this episode is, heavily featuring both of their characters, man. And they were a couple. They were an item for, most of like this era of 90210.
Yeah, they were definitely an item on this too, Steve. It gets crazy. But as we start this off, um, the Walshes, they're a family. They're watching the news together. And we see that Dylan's father, a Jack McKay, has been arrested. And he's a white collar criminal. Believe it was some tax evasion. And he's looking at some Wesley Snipes like times, Steve. He's been running from the feds for quite some time.
They're guilty when they come out like this with
Yeah.
the cups. No, I don't see my face.
Yeah. They always like the lawyer has their coat over them and stuff. But that's Dylan's dad. And he's going to the clink, Steve. So they're just sort of reacting to that. Mr. Walsh, I forget his name, his actual first name.
Jim.
He's like, man, she's lucky. He makes some comment about it. I gotta say, Mr. Walsh in this is kind of a dickhead until like the very end of the episode.
I mean, he's the father of a daughter. And, I've seen this before where they have the idea that, no one is good enough for her. So I understand that.
Yeah. Um, Dylan's phone is like ringing off the hook. We cut to him. Obviously, he's going through it and everybody's calling him, but he lets it go. Brenda's trying to call him. It goes straight to his answering machine. And because Dylan's got to smolder a little bit, Steve. He's going through it. He's got to think, man.
He's gotta do his Dylan thing, do the people's
Yo,
eyebrow.
fucking dad, what's up, bro? But then we cut to the beach, and Brendan Walsh is working in like the same type of scenario that Zach Morris and crew were working during the summer. He's working at like
Yeah.
I guess it's like a condo resort in Malibu or something. Maybe it is Malibu Sands. I don't know. Maybe there's a crossover.
Yeah, I didn't even
Um,
think about that.
but he sees Dylan come through because Dylan, whenever something's going on in his life, whenever he's got to think, he goes out and just gets some tasty waves just to sort of contemplate life, and that's where he's going because it's particularly nasty out there, Steve, and Dylan's looking for a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, he needs a release. And he knows that his dad is paying for the best lawyers in LA. They're going to take care of it. And while that's going on, Kelly, she's got the eyes for Kyle Connor. And Kyle Connor looks very familiar, Matt,
Is that Ted from Hey Dude?
from Hey Dude. And that's the guy that tried to like run away with Blossom. Yeah.
See, that's what it was. I was like, man, this doesn't make sense because like his storyline in this. I thought he was we'll get to it, but yeah, that's Ted from Hey Dude. It is a little wild and a little strange right now, but he's just a local volleyball hunk, Steve. He's out here playing the fucking pro level volleyball with Steve and crew. And what I found weird about this episode a couple times, like kind of like a weird I don't know, like almost like an OnlyFans thing, really. It's just like Kelly and her mom are hanging out and they're just like checking out man meat all over the beach. Just because I feel like Kelly's mom's fresh off a divorce or something, but she's
Yeah.
trying to get her groove back and she's definitely discussing it with her daughter, who's also very thirsty, Steve.
I'm not even mad at it.
I
Kelly's
mean,
mama.
how
Yeah.
can you be? But that's pretty hot, honestly. I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I'm just like, damn, this is kind of like a wild things type episode here. Shit could get real after dark if we let it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Get the daughter and the mom. Yeah.
I mean, you said it, Steve. You didn't even mince words there. But
No.
Kelly's got her eyes on this Kyle guy. She's had Steve. She's had the disgusting stepdad with the white Jerry curl. And now she wants to go with just the young gun. And Kyle, he's fitting all the bills. He's got a nice windbreaker ensemble on. He's got a nice like wispy hairdo, and he can volleyball the fuck out of somebody. So checks all the boxes. And Kelly's very thirsty in this episode, Steve.
And he can play some volleyball, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely gonna spike it if you know what I'm talking about.
And another side story is Shakespeare. Is this a summer class, summer school? I kind of glossed over things, a little under the weather, but
I didn't
they're-
catch that either. I just like it was. Well, I was like, yeah, they're in school and it's summer, but yeah, maybe they are in some weird like. Maybe it's like some sort of continuation class. And it's like I don't know.
yeah, some like acting project. I don't know, but yeah, Shakespeare. That's the theme of this, and I think Donna and David they're paired up together, and they're not together yet. I don't think.
No, they seem kind of combative, and both of them don't seem like the acting type, Steve. I feel like memorizing lines is going to be tough, but they're Romeo and Juliet. This is crucial. And I got to give a weird shout out to the drama teacher who can't be more than a couple years older than the kids he's teaching. I didn't understand I thought it might be a classmate, but yeah, Donna, David, they're going to figure it out, but I don't see an Oscar or a Tony in their future, you know?
No,
Nah.
not for the bag, not for BAG, man, or Aaron Spelling's daughter. But back to the Walshes, they get a phone call and they find out Dylan he got into a surfing accident, and only thing he cares about, he wants to be around his lady, his ex lady. He wants to get that old thing back.
Baby, how can I get through this without you, baby? It's very Tommy Lee. It's like how he talked to Pam on the tape. Baby, I need you, baby.
And in both instances, it worked.
I mean, it did. I mean, Brenda, she's like got weird energy because she's very much against him staying at the house in this, which we'll get to. But you can tell she's still got a little bit of a twinkle in her eye for Dylan. And how could you not? I mean, he's the bad boy.
And
You know?
I think Coach K, he had to go to like a business trip, and he finds out that they got Dylan at the house. He's not feeling this arrangement.
Yeah, because the mom just basically is like, look, you're staying with us. Your mom lives in Hawaii. Your dad's in jail. We can't have you just hanging out in the wind like this. You're all fucked up. Because I think he has like broken ribs. You know, he took a bad surfing injury. He got a concussion, got a little too nar out there, and now he's paying the price.
Yeah, they even had to bandage him up around his waist, man. It looked like a waist trainer. But they ev- after
That's great.
unpeeling the layers of fuck shit, uh, at some point, Dylan and Brenda they make out, and she's saying like she can't do this, but and like they go to bed, but then as Dylan's going into the bathroom, Brenda goes into the bathroom at the same time, and the synchronization, man.
Yeah, he's like, you can go first. And there's this weird, awkward energy. And I got to say, just cutting back real quick, one just like notable thing that you might not have clocked. Dylan makes it to the Walshes. They're taking care of him. They have him in a bedroom. He's taken Brandon's room to recuperate. He's getting meals from the mom, and the mom cooks him one of the most gigantic meals. It was like a fucking like eating contest meal. There must have been like 3 burgers on there. There's a whole heap of food for a
Yeah,
guy who's just out of surgery. So I just thought that was hilarious. But she just brings him home, brings this horny kid into the house, and even Brenda's like, I don't want him staying with us. He's my ex. I don't want him in this house. There's just this weird energy going on. But you know what? Dylan's got a nice little free ride going here. All you can eat buffet and a little sniz on the side. Because every once in a while he'll just meet up with Brenda and be like, "Hey, just want to remind you this dick's still in the house."
yeah, and it still works.
That didn't get messed up in that crazy nar surf accident I had. So see you later. So as you said, they have a weird awkward moment in the bathroom. It's just hilarious because it's just 2 awkward kids just waiting for each other to pee, really. You know, it's
Yeah,
like, come on, guys. Um, but at one point, I think we cut to the next day after a restless night, like both of the kids have, and everyone's gone in the house. But Dylan gets Brenda alone, and they start getting crazy. Steve.
yeah, because he asked for some lunch, and she gives him like this plate full of sandwiches. So she gives him his
Yeah.
food, and then and then after that, he was like, "Just one more thing." What? You. And so suave. That Dylan man, the
That's
top shelf.
nice. That's game, Steve. To use a
Yeah,
new term, that's Riz to the max. And to
yeah,
use a term from Boogie Nights, they are about to get to hot fuck action to the max. But then the dad comes home, Coach K, and he's waiting to kiss his wife. He's looking around, and lo and behold, he doesn't see a sandwich for himself. He
yeah.
sees a plate of sandwiches for some kid sleeping on his couch who's also about to finger blast his daughter. And
Right on
shit
y'all's
gets
couch.
yeah, it gets real awkward because he's like, I didn't think you'd use the hospitality we've given you to have sex with my daughter. He really takes it personally, Steven. As
Yeah,
somebody who's been walked in on in a sexual way from a girl's father,
yeah.
fully felt some cringes for Dylan because that's just it's not a great way to ingratiate yourself into anyone's life, but let alone the girl's father. So that's party foul on you, Dylan, but you can't really help it. You're just oozing sex appeal in Beverly Hills. So
And now they both overhear the parents talking about how he's got to get the hell out of this house. Dylan, I mean, obviously he feels a certain way about it. Brenda, she feels jilted and jaded, and just like now she wants to cuss out her dad. Like, dude, you're doing too much, man. You just crashing out over Dylan, man. That's my boo. That's my bae. That's what we do.
he's got to go. How long did the doctor say it took? 5 days. He's been here 3. He's got 2 left. I want his ass. There's a ticking clock, Steve. And Brenda doesn't take that too appreciatively. But again, she's sending mixed messages because 5 minutes ago she was like, "Oh, he can't stay here. I don't like him." And now she's like, "You people are fucking monsters. Just make up your mind, kid."
Well, and just like the previous episode or the one before that, she had a pregnancy scare. So that's another reason why Coach K dad feels this way. But
Get out of my house, you sick pervert.
meanwhile, Kelly and Kyle, he proposes he asks her if we could meet up and get together outside of these volleyball courts. She's like, "Are you asking me on a date?" Uh, sure, I guess.
Call it that.
Call it that. Yeah.
Call it that, bitch. But Kyle's got a weird energy, but they hang out. And it seems like it's going pretty well. Steve sees him out, kind of just getting friendly, and he even tells whoever he's with, I think maybe it's Brendan. He's like, "Yeah, it's Kelly. She's having a summer fling. She'll be back." I love
Yeah.
that energy, Steve. Not you, Steve. You know what I'm talking about. But Steve's very cocky in this episode. He's a very fucking douchey energy in this, as
He's,
always.
he's being a hater. Little
Yeah.
Timu AC Slater.
But it's passive aggressive because he's like, "Yeah, whatever with this fucking bullshit. He'll be back, And
Yeah.
then I feel like at some point he also tries to tell Kelly that Kyle has a girlfriend of some kind, which might
Yeah.
be true, but he's just out here trying to throw a little wrench in the mechanism in his
Well,
favor.
when she questions Kyle about it, he says that, "Oh, well, she was just getting too serious too soon. So we're not together anymore."
Yeah.
And when they have their little rendezvous at the beach, it's nighttime, and Kelly, her idea of a good time is skinny dipping. I like Kelly.
Kelly's wild, Steve. But unlike you or me, who would literally be fucking jizzing in their pants with just at what was happening, Kyle's got this weird energy where he's like, "What are you doing? What are you? That's against the law.
Yeah.
There's jellyfish." She's like, "Come on, let's come out here. I'm getting all wet," and he's like, I'm not. I don't know if I'm into this."
I'm going to get you a towel. That's
Yeah,
what you need.
you're a little like shit's crazy right now, so we just need to pull it back a little bit. And Kelly obviously is like confused as she should
Yeah.
be because she's gorgeous. And she's like, "Just give me a towel, you fucking creep. What the fuck's wrong with you?" And she goes off on him. But come to find out, Steve, Kyle, he's confused. He doesn't know what he is. He's fluid right now, but he's
Yeah.
not necessarily into chicks. And maybe this was his test to see, because, you know, maybe if it's the hottest chick in the world, he's down. But Kyle admits like he doesn't know what's up, and he thinks he wants to be friends. He friend zones the hottest chick in Beverly Hills.
You're coming on pretty strong. That's what he says. I was like, man, this isn't the same guy that would just like,
Ted, what are you
yeah,
thinking? Hey, dude, fucking do something. But Kyle, he's got other plans, Steve. He's not into the chicks. He's not into the ladies like that. But at some point, he reassures Kelly. He's like, "Look, you're good to go. It's just I'm not necessarily into the females at this point. So sorry about that." But it gets a
so
little awkward on that beach, Steve. But I do like Kelly's just 20 minutes in and she's all ready to skinny dip. I mean, I love that energy.
man.
I wish I had a skinny dipping body, but still, I do it. But goddamn, God
And
bless.
God bless you, Kelly. And back at the washes, Dylan, he leaves Brenda a letter saying, I hope you're happy now, basically. It
Um,
seemed like a lot more said on that letter, but that was the key thing I got from it.
I saw, yeah, I think he said he loved her. There was, I don't even know if Dylan knows how to spell. Honestly, he doesn't go to school that much, but I love how it's so emotional, Steve. It's a very like November Rain esque scene where he leaves a note. He gives her a soft kiss on the forehead, and then he just goes off into the wind, Steve, like kung fu.
And into a vacant summer house. And
Yeah, I thought it was his dad's, but then I was like, he's breaking in with a butter knife. So, one, up the security level, guys, because a white boy with a butter knife's getting into your shit.
Well, I think it used to be his dad's because there's like a height marker on the closet, and it says Dylan at 6 years old or so. It was one of those deals that they
Oh,
show, and they're showing him having flashbacks. He's reminiscing about the good times with his pops, and this echoing thing in his head. Don't worry, son. I'll always be there for you. I'll always be there with you. Something along those lines. And it's driving him crazy. He doesn't know what to do, man. So he just curls up and just cries because he's
why
human.
don't he? And I gotta say, also fire hazard because he has the Zippo on at full volume, just burning on the table as his light. Turn the lights on. I'm pretty sure there's no security, or at least you're good at that point. And yeah, but he has a nice cry on the couch. Everybody needs some time on the couch.
And Brandon catches him passed out, and he's like, "Dude, you're gonna get arrested, man. You can't just be moseying into like people's cribs like this."
He says only cool if Robert Downey Jr. does this. You ain't
Right.
that famous, bro. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, you've just fallen asleep on some random couch like that. You're not even on drugs, dude. You're just all fucked up with broken ribs, but he gets him out of there. Um, and after reading the note, Brenda confronts the parents and goes off. How dare you? You gave him a time limit. And the dad's, he's apathetic to it. He's trying to make excuses. It's his little girl, Steve. He walked in on her about to be in a sex tape. He overreacted a little bit, but Brenda's pissed. Dylan's fucking slumming it. He's, what is it called when you just stay in an apartment? Squatting. He's squatting.
Yeah. But
It's all fucked up.
eventually Dylan and Coach K dad, they have a talk, and he was like, "I always felt like you gave me a hard time, like I was never good enough." And Coach K's like, "You got to understand, Dylan, I don't think anyone's ever good for my daughter." Well, they always say a woman looks for a man that's similar to her dad. And he just laughs it off like, yeah, man, let's not get that far ahead. Yeah.
Coach K's like, you ain't as cool as I was when I was a kid.
I coached the dream team, goddammit.
Yeah. But they kind of like share a moment. He softens up the dad a little bit. We've kind of cut around Donna and David, who through this have now,
Because it's boring. That's why we cut around.
yeah. But what they do is to get around the fact that they can't act. David comes up with this plan that they just reverse. They pull a Shakespeare in Love, Steve. He's going to play the chick. She's going to play the dude. They do that. And it goes off well. But this drama teacher who can't be more than 19 or 20 is like, this was a cop out. You can't do this. You're going to do this again as the right sex, which I feel like now is a little bit questionable, but they pulled it off. As like Donna and David, I'd appeal that. I feel like they got the fucking short end of that stick. It was bullshit.
Yeah, drama teachers are always like stick up their ass kind of people, from my experience.
This is theater.
Yeah.
How dare you? But yeah, so obviously we've talked about the Walshes sort of coming around. But Steve, we got still Steve out here, Steve. And we have this scene where they're playing volleyball. Kyle has revealed himself to Kelly, and they're friends. Steve and Kyle are playing a little bit of volleyball. They're in the pro level. Kelly's hanging out, and Steve's throwing spikes at Kelly one after the other in this passive aggressive fuck you to her, where like it gets to the point where everyone's like, Steve, what the fuck, dude? Like, what are you doing, bro?
Stop being a chud.
It's like, what? If she can't play pro level, she shouldn't even be here, bros. Like,
And,
get out of here.
and by the way, Kyle, you couldn't even score with Kelly on a summer day. And Kelly steps up for Kyle. She's like, you know what? For your information, I was with him last night and he was wonderful.
He, I mean, my stomach hurts because of what he did to me. Just figure that out. Okay,
Man,
Steve.
Kyle's afraid of pussy. But but shout out to Kelly for standing up for something and just protecting her closeted gay friend. But never s- he said he's never slept with a girl before, and he doesn't know if he even wants to.
Yeah, at first I was like, are they just going for like an asexual thing where this guy's like, it's just not for me? It seems gross. There's a lot of germs, but he's confused, but he's got a new friend, Steve. He thinks the world of Kelly. He just doesn't want to get in them jeans, you
Yeah,
know?
probably not friends with benefits, but friend. You know,
Yeah.
never hurt having a new friend.
He'll help her decorate her new apartment someday. But one thing that Dylan decides to do at the end of this is just as like therapy, he writes his dad. Dear dad, you said you were always going to be there for me, but you're not. But I love you. It's very it's to the point, Steve, but he exercises some demons on the page.
Thank you for always buying me things. And that was a pretty solid episode, I'd say, man, especially for the earlier seasons.
A lot going on. I mean, gets a little sexual tension. But Kelly, I'm taken. But at this point, you want to go skinny dipping. I mean, maybe I can get a hall pass, but definitely my boy Steve. He'll go out in the Pacific with you and just throw
Yeah.
some suds.
Too bad I can't swim. But 1992, though, the 25th Olympic Games opened in Barcelona, Spain. And all I cared about at the age of 8, going on 9, was Dream Team. I mean, of course, they had other things. They had track and field, and shot put, and sumo wrestling. I don't know. All this stuff. All I care, and even still to this day, all I care about is the hoops.
Yeah, I mean, Summer Olympics. Maybe if I'm bored, I'll watch some of the track and field stuff, but especially in '92, it's
That's
his dream team. This is the greatest just collection of talent for basketball, I think, ever.
I think in any sport. I think this is like the X-Men of any sport, man. Like you just pick the greatest, not of just their era, but the greatest of all time, man. You got Mike, Magic, and Larry on the same team. Just that alone. You got some of the best bigs of all time. Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, um, Chris Mullin, some of the greatest shooters, man. And Clyde Drexler.
The merch, the jerseys, the domination. It was perfection. We're never gonna get that again. People won't give a shit as much ever again. It was just something that was perfect. It was a perfect moment. We got to live it. I still have McDonald's cups for Christ's sake for this because it means so much to me. Um, yeah, dude, it was everything. It was so cool. I don't really care about the Olympics at all. Like I really could
Yeah.
give a fuck. So this is one of those few times where I was all in. I was actually paying attention, and they were just. It was just full domination, Steve. Maybe there's a couple of close calls where they were partying too much, but I
Yeah.
mean, this was like double digit wins all over the place.
Yeah, and it was the first time they actually allowed NBA players in the Olympics because for the longest they would have just college players. So, the top college players would compete in the Olympics, but
Well, I think
yeah,
that's what they still do with like baseball, but yeah, you're right.
yeah,
But I mean, maybe there was a reason because the NBA putting NBA players in the Olympics. I mean, now they're kind of like spaced out because we got some people from other countries and stuff, but not enough.
not
I
enough.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, the NBA is just gonna you can't do it. They're the world champs, but this is so cool. So shout out. And if anybody's got some of that McDonald's merch still in their house, snap a photo, share it on our social media page because I'd love to see what's still out there.
And that following year, politically incorrect debuts on Comedy Central. And there was a time when I thought Bill Maher was cool. Shame on me, Matt. I didn't know any better.
It's not our fault because I was the same way. But just like they talked about in Batman, you're only a hero for so long, like until the world turns on you. And we turned on Bill Maher for a good reason, because he became a douche.
Yeah,
Um, this was okay. I feel like politically incorrect ran after like Tough Crowd. Well, I guess maybe this was before Tough Crowd, but I don't
way
know.
before.
Tough Crowd was better. Bill Maher to me is bleh. He was always kind of blah, but he had his moments. You know what?
8 seasons.
And I mean, he's still got shows. He's famous. I mean, he's good at this. You know, he's definitely good at being I guess, a political pundit or a political comedian, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, he's like mutated into just like a complete douche.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. Shout out to politically incorrect though. I don't know what it was paired with because '93 felt like Comedy Central was still in its like infancy stages. Man, this was before South Park, before Tough Crowd, Mystery Science Theater. Maybe they paired it with that.
Wasn't this on a regular? This wasn't on Comedy Central at first, was it?
At first it was, but then in '97 they moved to ABC.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, he helped build up Comedy Central in the early '90s, which they needed, and he was famous. I mean, Bill, you know, we're shit talking. It is what it is. I mean, we're talking 20, 30 years in the future here, but politically incorrect, it had its moments. You know, he can nail a politician, he can nail those jokes, and he still does from time to time. I mean, you know what? I'll laugh, but it's been a while.
yeah. I mean, he knows how to go viral. But 1995, July 25th, Bone Thugs and Harmony released East 1999. Think about back in the days when I'm
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I caught on to this because of the Crossroads song, obviously. Um, I didn't know about Bone Thugs early on. I was from Ohio. Shame on me, but I just moved there, Steve. You know, I was early on in my Ohio life, but I feel like you got to like really put them up in the Mount Rushmore, Mount Rushmore of Ohio. I mean, general music legends, honestly.
definitely, man. I mean, Crossroads, first of the month. They call him in Mr. Bill Collector, and yo ass gonna have to pay the price. Gotta hit him with the fofo. Gotta hit him with the fofo. Just like that. Nobody was doing
Notorious Thugs, Steve. That song, that's
that.
the song. Notorious
Think about
Thug.
the thugs, thinking about the thugs, the thugs, thugs.
Um,
That's a rare instance where somebody outside of Bone could keep up with them. Like Notorious, he killed his verse.
Armed and dangerous. Like when they get banged with us. Yeah, dude. That I mean, they're legendary. And they're still out here too a little bit. It's cool to hear them like kind of talk about the history and stuff. Um, and obviously, being from Ohio, we have like a soft spot for them. But in the '90s, dude, they were killing it.
They put
They
Ohio hip hop on the map, man. We didn't get any shine. We didn't have anybody from Cincinnati at the time or Toledo on a national scale. You know, we had Bone though. 1997 though, Air Force One premieres in theaters. A communist radicals led by Ivan Korshunov hijack Air Force One with U.S. President James Marshall and his family on board. Vice President Catherine Bennett negotiates from Washington, D.C., while Marshall fights to rescue the hostages on board. Directed by Wolfgang Peterson, starring Harrison Ford, Gary Oldman, Glenn Close, Wendy Crewson, Paul Goilfield, William H. Macy, Dean Stockwell. Just stop there.
Well, and also Gary. Did you say Gary Oldman? Did I miss that?
I did say Gary Oldman.
Okay, my bad. This was in that time for me that the summer blockbusters, and I think it's why I love blockbusters so much. But you know, my birthday's July 27th, so invariably every summer as a kid, I got to go see some crazy movie that was coming out in the summer, whether it was Independence Day, Men in Black, this, and I to me it's cheesy, Steve. but it's a Harrison Ford led action movie in the early 90s to mid 90s. And Gary Oldman kills it. Does it make a lot of sense? Absolutely not. Is there a lot of plot holes? Yeah, plenty. But you get Gary Oldman as a Russian villain. You get Glenn Close as the vice president. You get fucking the guy from Quantum Leap with the little temp pad thing that he's out there.
Yeah, Dean Stockwell.
Yeah.
He was a
And
G.
he was a G in it. And I just think this movie's hilarious. We get the famous "get off my plane." I mean, that
Yeah,
was it.
and you know what? This is our second movie that goes uh that hijacks a plane this summer. You know, it's get off my plane. That it's no yippee ki motherfucker, but it'll do, Mister Solo. It'll do
Yeah.
for now, Mister Indiana Jones.
Hell yeah. And I like going back to the day when for a villain, we as Americans collectively just use Russia and Russian locales as like villains. It didn't make any sense, but it was like, yeah, he's from Kazakhstan, whatever. It's like
Yeah,
it's a great villain. I love it.
Borat would not approve of this, by the way. High five.
Hey, Mr. President. Do you know who I am? But Gary Oldman, I mean, he can't lose. Even in a movie as low quality as in storytelling as this, he raises it. You know?
And man, I don't remember who it was we talked about. Maybe it was Willem Dafoe, but Gary Oldman, he has that kind of face too, where you're not supposed to be a good guy. You're really good at being bad. You're like you
Yeah.
just have that look that you're sinister, and he might be a great human being. I don't know. We never met Gary Oldman, but like if you go down his filmography, I mean, it'd probably be more on the bad side than good, man.
I mean, his memorable characters are mostly bad, honestly.
Yeah,
But you know, he played Commissioner Gordon. There's a good guy, but he was kind of
true.
like grizzled. You know, he still had like that sort of edge to him a little bit, but he's just a good ass actor. You
He is.
know, he's just and I bet honestly, from the shit that I've seen, because he did a bunch of interviews when he was like made up as his character in True Romance, where he was talking about just like how good Quentin Tarantino was. And he just seems like a guy who's just like happy to be there. But it was hilarious because he's in that like dreadlocked, crazy looking getup that he had in that movie. And he's like, yeah, Quentin's very nice. He has that like English accent and stuff. It's very bizarre. But he's, of all people in the 90s, somebody who I think kind of like went under the radar because he did so well and he was in so many movies that he was great in. I like this. He was Dracula in Mary Shelley's Dracula, I believe, was the one
Mhm.
that he was in. And he just played so many of these like crazy characters, like his character in True Romance, that you don't necessarily know it's him, but he always nails it, even if he's only in a movie for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's definitely a character actor, man. And that same day, 1997, Good Burger premieres in theaters. A dim-witted teenager and his new coworker try to save the old burger joint they work for from failing after the opening of a brand new burger restaurant across the street, which is planning to put them out of business. Directed by Brian Robbins, starring Keenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, and Abe Vigoda. Ew, ew, ew.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this was killer. We love this. Got Sinbad in this, looking crazy, hilarious. He's just an angry dude in this that Keenan fucked over.
Yeah, like I didn't even mention all the cameos. I mean, Shaq is in it.
Yeah.
Arliss is in it.
I love the guy from Mondo Burger that's like the villain, the blonde dude who looks like the lead singer from Sum 41. He's I mean, the whole thing is just kitschy, it's 90s. It's ridiculous, but it's actually a pretty like heartfelt movie. It's great. Keenan's great in it. Everybody's awesome in it, and it's a stupid ass movie, but it's still one of my favorites from like the Nickelodeon squad.
With everything that's happened, that they've revealed, does it still hit the same? Knowing that some
Well, I mean, Dan Schneider's in this, so it's
he's
like
in the
tough to
movie
overlook that. But he was a
and he
main
wrote it.
character in, yeah. So that stinks. But you know what? He's it's I don't know if there's some perversion in this. I didn't catch it, and you know what? I like to give Keenan and Kel and Sinbad their flowers, and we'll keep it at that. You know, he can choke on a Mondo burger.
Yeah. Shout out to Carmen Electra too, man.
Yeah, shout out. I forgot she was in it. But I gotta say, as a fat kid, I did want to know what was in that special sauce because
Oh,
everybody was just dying for it.
do you really want to know, Matt? But you know who somebody who probably didn't watch Good Burger or Air Force One 1997 is probably American golfer Ben Hogan, born in 1912, and he passed away at the age of 84 in Fort Worth, Texas.
Legendary golfer. Steve could give a fuck.
I give, hey man, flowers to greatness. You know, obviously we know Tiger Woods is like one of the greatest, or like some people say the greatest. So I do acknowledge that. Ben Hogan, that's a name I remember seeing on tickers and all of that stuff when they talk about greatest of all time. So despite the fact I find it a boring sport, hey, he was great at that. It's just not my thing, man.
I get it. It's not anybody, but he was great at it, and it's tough. Golf is so fucking hard as somebody who's tried. So I don't know too much about him. I'm not a golf historian, but I respect anybody who can play golf really well because it's tough. Um, so how good of a guy he was could probably not great given his age, but Ben Hogan, flowers, dude.
Hey,
I hope you're hitting birdies in heaven or hell, wherever you're at.
he was married to his wife Valerie Fox from 1911 to 1999. So that speaks on his character in some way.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice job, Ben.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. No, that doesn't even make sense. He was born in 1912. His wife was born in 1911. But they married in 1935 and they were together, I believe, up until his death. So shout out to that.
60 years and a bunch of birdies later. He hit a bunch of birdies in the game of life, Steve.
There you go. In 1998, though, the final episode of Weird Science airs, and I watched it. There were two episodes that wrapped up the series, and they were both stupid. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I did enjoy the show, but I think by the time we got a hold of it, we're in the later years. We did cover it a week or so ago, and we'll spin the block on Weird Science. We'll get that opportunity again. But these last two, nah. Um, I think in one episode, Chet, the douchebag brother, he is actually going out with the robot chick, the weird science chick, and somehow, some way, she gets pregnant, but she reverses it, and Chet gets pregnant. Weird stuff, very weird. Yeah,
What?
yeah, we didn't miss anything, man.
What
But
the fuck?
yeah, shout out to Weird Science though. In 1999, Arliss is airing season 4, episode 6, "To Thine Own Self Be True." Kirby and Stanley help a hockey client make the transition to professional wrestling.
Stanley. Um, yeah, as we start this, our list, he's the baller, Steve. He's the number one agent in all the world. And he's got himself some young Korean talent. He's got a young Korean baseball pitcher named
Something Kim.
John Kim. John, maybe Kim.
I'll
And
roll with that.
he might be playing for the Dodgers. He's the new hot ticket, and Arliss is trying to get his claws in. And we even get to see Arliss doing an interview on Korean television, which is hilarious.
The Dubs.
Yeah. But then we cut to this clip of just some psycho enforcer guy on a hockey team pulling a Happy Gilmore and beating the shit out of a hockey player and
Yeah.
a ref. And it's just it's a pretty scary scene, Steve.
The enforcer. Yeah. Now he's banned from hockey for life. For life.
Yeah. So Stanley and Kirby are like, look, you stabbed a guy with a hockey skate, so we're not going to be able to get you back into the NHL, but this specific type of crazy you are would work great, and we're just going to pivot you into being a professional wrestler.
And he brushes it off because, man, this isn't serious, man. This is play fighting, this, that, and the third. He's like, dude, a lot of people take this serious.
Yeah.
It's still real to me, damn it.
there are grown men who would be in tears right now hearing this.
Yes.
But as they're having this discussion with the enforcer, who looks like Randy Couture's like less successful brother from the UFC, I couldn't
I
pin
don't,
it, but I just thought
yeah.
of the name, so it's very much like that.
Yeah.
But they're having this convo, and then Arliss gets this insane news that John Kim, his prodigy, actually is been conscripted into the Korean army for
Yeah.
a mandatory 3-year stint in their army, which everyone that's a Korean citizen has to abide by. So basically, in his eyes, he just lost a check, Steve.
Yeah, and he's doing whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. The next scene, get a very familiar face. Eric Bischoff's in the building, and yeah, they're having their first meeting with the WCW brass. And Enforcer, he's there at the table saying he wants to be a good guy to save his image, to regain his image.
Yeah. And I don't
It's
know if you placed this, but Eric Bischoff's right hand man is Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley, I believe.
I'm surprised you clocked that. I'm supposed to be the one knowing about those old
I
ass.
mean, I know
You're too cool
Squiggy.
for those.
I know Squiggy, Steve. Everybody knows Squiggy.
Squiggy and Michael McKean was the other one.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But so Squiggy's in there, they're negotiating. But the enforcer loses his shit again. He tries to hold it in because the Zanger thing's already lost him his gig in the NHL. But Eric Bischoff, being the mad crazy genius he is, watches the enforcer have a meltdown, and he's like, you know what? I think I can shape this crazy into something useful. So 600 grand contract, you're in, but you gotta, I think he has to wrestle like 100 some wrestling matches or something. But I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know what hockey players made in the 90s, but 600 G's.
In the '90s, I really feel like WCW wrestlers were making more, especially certain ones.
Well, he's got a deal, Steve. Bischoff saw something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's his likeness of Randy Couture. Maybe it's his obvious pill addiction that's already set in. But Bischoff's, he knows. He knows a good thing when he sees it. So deal set. Arliss is still trying to wheel and deal his way around this whole Korean thing. He goes to a nail salon to see if John Kim's mother can intervene in some way because she's she works at a nail salon, which I think is kind of like a racist stereotype that they just used in this a little bit. But you know what? She's not helping because she's just like, he's just some white dude that's trying to take advantage of her son, basically. So what does Arliss do? It's like, you know what? My pale white face isn't going to do anything. Hey, Rita, get your Asian ass over there and see if you can talk some sense into these people because you guys are all Asian. So he sends his one Asian employee over to try to talk some sense into the Kims. But what we find out, Steve, is that Rita is not really in touch with her heritage. And as she talks to the mother, she finds out a little bit of something about herself and something that they both have in common in their heritage and like sort of a family tragedy. And this shared sort of bond doesn't really get anything forward in Arliss's deals, but we
Yeah.
see Rita sort of, I guess, come to an understanding about who she is a little bit more than what just some girl from California, basically.
They broke through in a way. And then now we have the training session with the narcissist himself, Larry Fole slash Lex Luger, and the great one, Macho Man. Oh yeah. I jumped out of
Yeah.
my seat. When I first saw this, I jumped out of my seat, man. Like, yes.
What do you think, Randy? He's got some talent. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
But Kirby is kind of getting mouthy with Macho Man. He's like, look, dude, I didn't pay you just to come hang out. I need you to teach my guy how to wrestle here, do something. Macho puts Kirby in a headlock, almost kills his little scrawny ass. Um,
And puts him in
yeah,
a pile driver, too.
yeah. I mean, he puts a bunch of moves on him. Lex Luger just sits there and sort of does what Lex Luger does best, which is not be exciting at all. He just sits there in his NWO shirt. But shout out to the Wolfpack shirt. I love that. And as this is happening, Arliss is also trying to work his magic with another entity in this whole Korean scandal, which is, I think he goes to like the actual Korean ambassador, if I'm not mistaken,
Something like
somebody connected to the Korean government. He's like, look, can you help a guy out, please? Like, this kid is, he's about to be a superstar. You can't do this. And the guy's like, look, dude, there's a word for rejection in Korean that's basically like aloha. It means a lot of things. And he goes through this explanation basically to say, like, I'm not going to help you. Go fuck yourself. So Arliss cannot really do anything to make this deal happen. Nothing's coming to his head. He's usually got an idea. And even Rita comes back from her meeting and he's like, did you figure out anything? And she's like, well, I figured out a lot of stuff. But one thing I have to say is I think he needs to serve his time in the army. So she basically, didn't help him out at all.
it seems like
But,
it's mandatory. Yeah.
well, it's like, like Israeli citizens, they have to serve years in the military after they turn 18. So I think it's the same thing. There was a guy in the UFC called the Korean Zombie that was really good, and he had to stop his career mid-career to do the same thing. So I do think it's an obligatory thing you have to do, even to this day. But what we through all this, Arliss is the wheels are turning, Steve, and he finally has an idea, because something that's been sort of advertised this whole time this episode's been going on is this thing called is it called the European Games or the Asian
The
Games?
Asian games, yeah.
And
Japan
so,
versus Korea.
yeah, so there's this whole thing that's going to be going on in like a year. So Arliss is like, ooh, okay, I think I have something that I can do here to maybe entice this ambassador to let John out of this. So he goes back to the office, hat in hand, and he's like, look, I think you might want this guy to not be in the army, or at least be able to play in these Asian games in a year. So my thing is this. If he wins this game for you guys, it's win-win. And if he does win, you're going to let him out. He won't have to serve this full 3-year obligation. And I will get him a little bit earlier, basically. And since I feel like the guy's sort of a betting man, the ambassador, like he likes to gamble a little bit, they sort of get into this thing where they almost come to an agreement. But I think at the last second, the ambassador's like, this doesn't make any sense for me. I'm not going to do this. Or did I remember that right?
I hardly remember this episode, man. But the enforcer, back to him, he has a match with Rick Steiner, and I think that's what kind of like became the glue to everything else, because he's fighting the dog face gremlin. It's the real Rick Steiner, and at some point he gets into it with one of the fans, and he beats the living daylights out of him.
Well, he was supposed to, what Eric Bischoff had outlined to him that the storyline was going to be is that the enforcer is going to beat the shit out of Rick Steiner. And at the moment where he's about to finish him, he's going to forgive Rick Steiner, which will in some way ingratiate him with the fans and make him like a baby face.
Yeah.
But in the actual moment, the 90s wrestling fans that they are like, pussy. And he starts getting in his head and beats the shit out of everybody, including Rick Steiner. Maybe even a ref takes a shot in the chops. He pulls the brawl in the Detroit Pacers game where he just goes into the stands, Steve. The Malice
Yeah.
at the Palace.
Very Ron Artest of him.
And,
And
but I feel like whether or not it's to Bischoff's genius plan, he gets a push, Steve. He gets a little hit off this. The crowd's loving it.
well, didn't he get banned from WCW at that
Yeah,
point?
well, but the crowd was loving it. They're bloodthirsty. But yes, he does after this get banned from WCW. But Steve, this guy that I was talking about, this ambassador, turns out we cut to them after this, and Arliss is still trying to make this deal. He stalls this guy in his office. He calls him to his office now in an attempt to do something, but pulls some shenanigans where he like makes his shoes disappear or something. And as they're waiting, the enforcer comes in livid that he's been banned from WCW. He's like, what are we going to do? And, this whole thing to get the player out of the Korean army's in shambles. But the ambassador's like, hey, wait a second. Are you the enforcer? I saw you on TV the other night, dude. You beat the shit out. You killed that guy. I like that. And you know what? I got a wrestling promotion in Korea that I'd love to get you in the mix for. So problem solved, Steve. He's going to go do New Japan Pro Wrestling exploding barbed wire matches.
And by all accounts, they do make good money over there too. So shout out to Enforcer, Randy Couture Jr. looking motherfucker.
Yeah, and also shout out to Kirby, who at one point in this episode, I believe, was playing Twister with two hot chicks that were naked, or that might have been the episode after this episode, but
quite possibly.
Yeah, but he gets some puss, Steve. So shout out to Kirby. So
I like Kirby, despite him being kind of a
he's
deviant.
a dick. He's a dick weirdo, but he gets the job done, Steve.
He tries to get over on old ladies. But also in 1999, the WB is airing the final episode of The Parenthood. And once again, I watched it and I figured, it's better to cover our list because the episode is called Wedding Bell Blues. And Robert and Jerry, they are renewing their vows and they have a conflict. There's a spat, if you will. And eventually by the end of the episode they come to, and it's one of those we got, I love you, baby. They renew their vows. And like this is another cop out series finale, I felt, because it just they just ended it with the dance. You know how you have like the Soul Train line at weddings and stuff? Like that's how they ended it. Okay, go Robert, go Jerry, go Zaria, go Zaria. Show her nibble. Show Reagan Gomez titty nibble, baby. You go out with a bang. If you would have done that, we definitely would have covered that. See them Reagan Gomez titty nibbles.
I mean, Robert was a ghost at one point in the show, and we go off like that, Steve.
We go out like that, man. They don't even bring back Michael. They don't bring back Faison Love. I want closure on my series finales. Kelly was there though. He was there, from the time he joined all the way up until the end. And Kenya Moore, who played Jerry's sister in one of the episodes we covered, supermodel and housewife of Atlanta. So that's some good eye candy, but also in 1999, Fully Loaded 99 is airing. And man, this is like your standard fanfare for this era of WWF. You do get, and I don't know why I'm thinking sexual, but only thing I cared about really was Deborah McMichael's breasts. I always loved how whatever she's applying to her body, it just makes the titties just bounce, just glisten, just shine. Like her titties she always walked down the aisle with Jeff Jarrett, titties just shinier than Jermaine Jackson's forehead.
Made him strut, Steve. Strut.
And that was the first match, Jeff Jarrett versus Edge. And I will say Triple H and The Rock, they had a strap match. That was decent. And the main event was Steve Austin versus The Undertaker. Basically, if The Undertaker wins, I think the stipulation was Stone Cold is banned from WWF. If Stone Cold wins, Vince McMahon will lose control. But Stone Cold wins, and obviously we know Vince didn't lose control up until he started shitting on bitches.
Yeah, he lost control, but it just took a while.
Mm-hmm.
How many damn matches did Stone Cold and Undertaker have? How many main events? Damn.
Around this time, yeah, man, because they would have this thing, man, the Ministry of Darkness, and Stone Cold was like a one-man wrecking crew. Like, I'll take on this whole gang. I don't care. That's what we loved about Stone Cold.
I don't give a damn.
He never gave a damn. Don't give a fuck. Word to Lil Jon.
Oh, shit. Shout out Crazy Bone, too, because he didn't give a fuck.
Crazy, yeah, or busy. But any callbacks, honorable mentions, or broken condoms?
Since I talked about Twister, Steve, I just got to give a shout out to Bill Paxton, who was my favorite Bill of the 90s as an actor. And I feel like if you're going to watch Twister at all, go back to the old one. Go to the time capsule and don't watch this new shit.
But I thought you hated that movie.
I do, but like if you're gonna watch, if somebody has a gun to your head and says you have to watch one of the Twister movies, just go back and watch the one with Bill Paxton. You're gonna get some Bill Paxton. You're gonna get some early Philip Seymour Hoffman, and you're gonna just get to see Helen Hunt in a wet T-shirt, and all those things add up to something, Or is it good cinema? No, but you're gonna save yourself some money. But on an edible,
Yeah.
you know what? You're gonna laugh. So sorry, Steve. I derailed there. But what about you?
Hey, that's what we do on this show, right? Really, man, Howard Stern in 1992 is airing The Hooker's Price is Right. I was
Nice.
lucky enough to catch that on YouTube. And Fred Berry, a rerun from What's Happening, he makes a cameo on there. And this episode isn't as crazy as the Hooker Hollywood Squares, but
Aww.
it's crazy nonetheless, man. This what I think it lasted 3 seasons, and the final episode is coming up soon. Might want to cover that one. And also Deborah McMichael, her beautiful breastises. Stone Cold was actually, I don't know if he was married. I know they were an item. They were dating, and I don't know how you fumble that, bro. Like, was she that annoying? Like, were you that like
Stone
roided out?
Cold, Steve. I mean, there's a buxom bimbo in every town you're wrestling in.
Not like
And
Deborah though.
Deborah, you can have Deborah, and I'm gonna get the Gold Dust chick. So that's our '90s orgy that we're gonna have. Sorry, Kendra. I know we're married, but
Yeah,
if I go back in time,
yeah, this is all hypothetical. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
all right.
please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister what she gonna do when it ain't no place to run. And judgment comes, but you been just gonna go. And check out Food Show Fanatics as well as Crushgasm with Kendra every Wednesday, and our guy Clark the Shark on Podcastle. This is Steve G and Matt G with
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!